Hello everybody, this is Comic Game Nerd. Today we're doing Dead by Daylight Killer Trailers. First on our list is Evan McMillan, the Trapper. This is one of the 25 killers currently featured in Dead by Daylight. He was introduced as a member of the original killer trio that released with the game on the 14th of June 2016. The Trapper is an area-controlled killer, able to apply pressure across the map by placing deadly bear traps for survivors to step into. His personal perks, unnerving presence, brutal strength, and agitation allow him to chase and carry survivors more effectively. He is focused on physical attributes and making use of his strength and the survivor's fear. The Trapper has a difficulty rating of easy. The Nurse is a warping killer, able to blink through obstacles and quickly close gaps with her power. Her personal perks are Strider, Thanatophobia, and a Nurse's Calling. These perks allow her to decrease survivor abilities and track them when they are injured. The Nurse is focused on spotting and tracking, making it harder for survivors to hide. The Nurse was introduced as a killer of Chapter 1, the Last Breath chapter, a chapter DLC released 18th of August of 2016. The Hag is a cursed killer, able to place phantasm traps and then teleport to them upon activation. Her personal perks are Hex the Third Seal, Hex Ruin, Hex Devour Hope. These all apply crippling penalties to survivors as long as the associated totem remains uncleansed. The Shape is a haunting killer, intent on monitoring survivors from a distance to feed his power. The more he stalks, the stronger and faster he becomes. His personal perks are Save the Best for Last, Play with Your Food, and Dying Light. Select one survivor to become his obsession and trigger deadly effects based on the obsession status. His perks are focused around obsessions, so just like Michael Myers is obsessed with killing, the killer picks a survivor and then tags him as his obsession. Michael Myers has a difficulty rating of hard. The Doctor is a madness-inducing killer, able to use his power, static blast, incapacitating survivors and causing them to hallucinate and scream in terror, thus revealing their position. His personal perks are overwhelming presence, monitor and abuse, and overcharge. This encourages chases, which impacts survivors' ability to repair effectively and make it harder for him to be detected while not in a chase. The Huntress is a ranged killer, able to throw hunting hatchets at survivors to injure them from a distance. Her personal perks are Beast of Prey, Territorial Imperative, and Hex the Hunter's Lullaby, allow her to apply pressure through better map awareness and enhanced chasing abilities. Her perks revolve around the hunt of the prey to track and find so that she can get close enough to make the kill. The Cannibal is a chainsaw-wielding killer, able to trigger a deadly frenzy using his power, immediately downing anyone in its path. His personal perks are Knockout, Barbecue and Chili, and Franklin's Demise, making survivors easier to locate while robbing them of their tools and abilities. His perks revolve around the unknown. Nobody knows where he is, especially the Cannibal himself. You are not aware of his presence until the chainsaw bursts through your spinal cord. The Nightmare is a nightmare killer, passively pulling survivors into his dream world. His personal perks are Fire Up, Remember Me, and Blood Warden. His perks revolve around stopping survivors from fleeing. They will make surviving a real pain for all, and managing to escape the hunting ground won't be easy. The Pig is a tormenting killer, able to crouch into stealth mode, then ambush survivors from a short distance. She can also apply reverse bear traps to down survivors, forcing them to remove it before the timer runs out, triggering an instant death. Her personal perks are Hangman's Trick, Surveillance, and Make Your Choice. The focus of her perks is on pain and torture. A hook is not the easy flee from all, and survivors will be seriously tested when it comes to skill checks. The Clown is a strategic killer, able to control and corral survivors by throwing bottles of the Afterpeace tonic, to create clouds of noxious gas that cover large areas for a short amount of time. Survivors intoxicated by the gas are inflicted with impaired vision and movement speed, and give away their location by coughing loudly. His personal perks are Bamboozle, Coulrophobia, and Pop Goes the Weasel. He has a surprising agility for a man of his size, along with a terrifying appearance, and the ability to sabotage the survivors' efforts. Rin Yamoka, the Spirit, is a phase-walking killer, able to catch survivors off guard with her traversal power, Yamoka's Haunting. Her power allows her to teleport from one place to another without being seen. Her personal perks, Spirit Fury, Hex Haunting Ground, and Rancor give her the tools to observe and bait survivors, and deal with obstacles that are directly in her path. She inherited incredible fury from her ancestors. The wrath that flows through her veins is her legacy. The terrible pain she suffered set it off, swift and lethal. The Spirit exacts her revenge endlessly. The Legion are a band of merciless killers, able to rush down helpless survivors with their power, Feral Frenzy. Attacks made during this frenzy inflict lingering internal damage, downing any survivors that are not quick enough to react. Their personal perks are Discordance, Mad Grit, and Iron Maiden. Give them the ability to locate their prey and savagely attack while transporting survivors to the hook. The Plague is a devout killer, able to infect survivors from a short distance using her power, Vile Purge. Survivors inflicted by this contamination risk become injured or broken, unless they find a way to cure themselves in a pool of devotion. Her personal perks are Corrupt Intervention, Infectious Fright, and Dark Devotion. These give her the ability to hinder survivors' objectives while simultaneously confusing and frightening those with her presence. The Ghostface is a creepy killer, able to stalk his victims and sneak up silently using his power, Night Shroud. Affected survivors will find themselves vulnerable and oblivious to his presence and must use all of their perception and awareness to protect themselves from his approach. His personal perks are I'm All Ears, Thrilling Tremors, and Feared of Chase, giving him the ability to locate survivors, defend generators, and make his chases unpredictable. The Demogorgon is an unidentified killer, able to open multiple portals and traverse between them to cover large distances. Using the power of the Abyss, it can detect any survivors within a close proximity to the portals, then unleash a leaping attack to inflict damage from a distance. Its personal perks, Surge, Mindbreaker, and Cruel Limits, will impact the environment close to generators and affect nearby survivors in all unexpected ways. The Oni is a monstrous killer, able to absorb the blood energy of his injured foes, and then use that energy to transform into a brutal demon, using his power, Yamoka's Wrath. He can rush down survivors at great speed and deal deadly strikes with his Cannibal. His personal perks are Zanshin Tactics, Blood Echo, and Nemisis. Provide navigation information, punish injured survivors, and gain advantages over those that interfere. The Deathslinger is a vengeful killer, able to spear his survivors from a distance and reel them in using his power, the Redeemer. His personal perks are Gearhead, Deadman Switch, and Hex Retribution, which allow him to locate and impede survivor objectives and punish survivors for destroying totems. The Executioner is a map manipulation killer, able to torment survivors with the hazard he creates. Affected survivors will be vulnerable to his special hook, the Cage of Atonement, and his special Mori, Final Judgment. His personal perks are Force Penance, Trail of Torment, and Deathbound. These allow him to aggressively defend his prey while deceiving and tracking survivors. The Blight is an unpredictable killer, able to rush forward in a burst of speed and karam off obstacles to injure survivors by using his power, Blighted Corruption. His personal perks are Dragon's Grip, Hex Blood Favor, and Hex Undying. These allow him to impose powerful effects on generators, totems, and pallets. The twins are a cooperative pair of killers, able to divide and hunt together using their power, blood bond. Their personal perks are Hoarder, Oppression, and Coup de Grace. Allow them to monitor survivors' actions, impede their progress, and hunt more efficiently. The Nemisis is an unrelenting killer, capable of attacking at mid-range with his tentacle while receiving support from the zombies roaming the area. His personal perks, Lethal Pursuer, Hysteria, and Eruption allow him to quickly ambush survivors while sowing confusion and fear when injuring and hooking them. The Cenobite is a summoning killer, able to possess chain projectiles and use the layman configuration to torture every survivor at once. His personal perks are Deadlock, Hex Plaything, and Scourge Hook, Gift of Pain. Allow him to slow generated progression and continue torment survivors who have experienced his sweet suffering.